So I've got a 2022 Ram 1500 truck with the rear defrost in the back, and I've noticed the rear defrost has not worked well, or it's not working at all. And I finally decided to diagnose that myself the other day and take a look at the simple things first. So we have a rear window that has the sliding center glass in it, and you can see the defrost lines in each section. Here are the connections for the center glass section. That's connected to the window. Let's check the other side here. Down at the bottom, you can see the connection for the driver's side section of the glass. And back on the passenger side of the glass, we can try to look back there, and you can see where the solder joint was. And then I have the cord right here. So here's the cord. They use kind of a snap like you'd have on a jacket. That snap gets soldered to the glass, and then the terminal plugs onto that. So what I'm going to do is resolder this back to the glass. First I got to pop this out of here, and I'm going to take the headrest out but leave the seat in, because I just don't want to have to do that if I don't need to. And let's see what we can do here. I used my hook tool to kind of pry in between the connector and the button. Make sure to not drop this. Here's the button. So this is what they use to solder to the glass. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this into the house, heat it up, and add some solder to it. Here I've got a snap-on butane torch. I'm going to turn that on. Click it a couple times, it should ignite. You can see the orange glowing in there. So I'm going to let this warm up for a second here, and then here's that snap or button again. I'm just going to hold it with the needle nose pliers, and I'm going to heat it up with this with the soldering iron, and then add some more solder to it. I have to try and keep pressure on the snap and on the soldering iron at the same time. But pretty soon we should see the solder start to melt. The existing solder that's on the snap, we should see this start to melt, and then I can add a little bit more to it. Okay, now we can see it starting to melt here. See if I can heat it from the bottom while adding a little bit up here. Alright, I'm kind of using the butane soldering iron as a stand. Then I'm using the pliers to hold the snap and to put pressure down at the same time. Now the solder is starting to melt on the top of the snap again, or the back side of the snap, I should say. So I'm going to add a little bit in here, so that when I go to do this in the truck, I've got solder to make the connection. Okay. So you can see I've got a pretty good ring of solder on here. Now we'll go to the truck. I've still got to try and get the best angle here so that I can hold a decent tension on it and get the soldering iron in there, and that might be it right there. So I'm going to start the soldering iron back up again. Okay, we're glowing there. Now I'm just going to hold this on here until I see, hopefully, some solder melting. Looks like the top is starting to get wet. That's a good thing. Well, could have been worse, could have been better, but right there is where I need to be with this thing. This is ridiculous. I dropped the snap, which made my life a little bit more difficult, but there's only 4 bolts to take the seat out like this. I didn't have to unbolt the seat belt or anything. And that gave me the opportunity to park the truck in the sun too. So right now, this is kind of the vicinity that I need to solder in. And it's been sitting in the sun, so this is warm. Whereas the other day when I was trying to do it, it was kind of cold yet. So I'm hoping that'll help me. I held this snap in place with that pliers while I had this started, and then I heated that snap up until I could see the solder was liquid. Then I let go of the pliers, and then I turned off the soldering iron with my other hand. Now, I should be able to pull this away. It's not the prettiest. I might add a little bit more solder to it also, but I'm going to see how strong it is first. I'm trying to move it with this pliers, and it's staying on there. Well, I think we should give it a test. Off camera, I added a little more solder to this. Like I said, I know it's not pretty, but we'll see if it works now. All right, I was shaking the button, and I was actually moving the whole truck, so I think we're going to be pretty solid. Part of the problem, I think, too, was that this was really tight, so I pulled some slack from wherever it goes. I'll try and pop it back on. It popped right back on, and you can't really even see my ugly soldering job. I have an infrared thermometer here, and I'll see if I can put the light on for you too. So on the grid right now, it's looking like 55 degrees. I'm going to start the truck and turn on the rear defroster and see if this heats up. Here's about a minute later. Now I'll check it in like 5 minutes, see where we're at. It's been about another 5 minutes here, and see what we got. Look at that, 83 degrees. I'll check over here. Look at that, 89 degrees. And I did check on the other panels. Here we got, it's hard for me to get a good reading on it, but 78, 79. And I did check the far one. That one was at 79 a minute ago too. And all of them are warm to the touch. This is awesome that it worked. Well, I'm pretty excited that this repair actually worked. Now, for how long? I don't know, but it'll at least buy me some time until maybe the driver's side one falls off. I think there's either 2 or 3 on the driver's side one, and then there's 2 of those in the center glass. And I did contact the dealership to see if I could just buy that button, because as you saw in this video, it fell down and I didn't really feel like taking the back seat out. But they do not sell that separately. You need to buy the whole back glass. So I wanted to just make this work. And I have used in the past some repair kits that don't use solder. It's like a 2-part epoxy that has some conduciveness in it. And I used that in my wife's Yukon, and it lasted a couple months. Maybe I didn't have the surface prepped right, or maybe there was an issue with the product that I got. I'm not sure. But after that happened, then I soldered the tab on the back of the glass on hers the same way that I did in here. And that has been holding for almost 3 years now. So hopefully this repair holds up just as well. I just thought this would be kind of a fun video to make. In case you're running into a rear defrost issue, you can check those wires just to make sure they're not disconnected like they were on here. If that happens to you, then like I said, you can buy a repair kit, or you can do the soldering job yourself, or take it to a shop and you at least know one of the reasons why it could not be working.